right, we're about to get started. My name is Kristen Tobacco. I'm here at Tech. I'm the Assistant Director of History Curriculum for Lynn Public Schools, and I'm here to introduce our guest speaker today. First, I wanted to thank Mr. Kaczynski for organizing this to happen at your school, along with Dr. Curry and Principal Gallo for having this speaker hosted here. As you might know, we are starting a genocide education course in the fall. How many of you have signed up to take that class? Global genocides. Raise your hand. I know there's a lot of people, so I see the numbers. But so in the same spirit of that, we wanted to bring in some real experiences and real learning for you guys, and as the teachers had experience at Salem State a few weeks ago, or a few months ago rather, Mr. Sankti here spoke about his experience surviving the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. He's currently a guidance counselor in the Lowell Public Schools. And so he shares a lot of the passions that we have in education with our teachers here. And I'm just going to let him get started. At the end, there'll be a few minutes for questions. So think of any questions you have. And I'm going to introduce Mr. Sankti. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me here today. I know that talking about my past experience, it's not an easy to talk about it, because it felt like when you talk about the bad memory that you went through, it feels like it brings it back to you. And sometimes, living here in Lowell, I feel like a dream for me. It's like I got up in the middle of the night and had a nightmare what I went through in Cambodia, and I woke up, tried to touch the ceilings. That, wow, I'm real. This is not a dream. I'm real living in America. So I know that I have shared my story through Time Magazine, CBS 60 Minutes, and some other newspaper. But I think it's important for me to write what's happening to me, to my family, millions of Cambodians that went through the most unbelievable years, that what happened between 1975 to 1979. It's beyond you imagine, the suffering, the starvation, and could imagine 1 out of 3 Cambodians were killed or died of starvation during that years. And that's why I decided to title my book, The Years of Zero. That means those 4 years, nothing, when the Khmer Rouge took control those years, nothing happening. There's no market, there's no school, there's no allow you to traveling from one village, one town, one city to another. It's just nothing, and not even international community be able to come in and visit. Nothing's happening. The only those years, from your house to the rice fields, and work all day, all night. And everyone during that years have to eat the same food, work in the same field, and wear the same clothes, all black uniform. And that is everyone, that the Khmer Rouge want millions of Cambodians to do, to obey their rule, to obey. If you have any question, if you complain, you would not survive during that time. And I remember I was born in 1968. That was the year that the U.S. carpet bombed Cambodia. And that's how the Khmer Rouge fuel was stronger, arise and try to take over the country because of the U.S. was involved in Vietnam War and bombed Cambodia, and it did not kill the Vietnamese soldier. It was killed the thousands of civilians, Cambodians, and that's how the Khmer Rouge was arise at that time. And I was too young to understand what's happening during that time, and I remember just those days escaping from the bomb. At nighttime, my parents just grab us and stay under the underground bomb shells, and it's just that thing is starting getting worse and worse in those years, and I know I was the youngest, 11 in my family, and at the time, my father was a doctor. My mother was a housewife. She was make sure every kid in the family had to get education. And our oldest brother, who worked very hard and got the scholarship to go to study in France before the Khmer Rouge took over in 1975. And I was too young at the time. In 1975, I was about 7 years old. And I remember, saw the Khmer Rouge, or saw the soldier were carting the Khmer Rouge parade on the street. And I thought that Khmer Rouge, it was like so different from me at the time. Because Khmer Rouge in French, in Cambodia, is a Khmer Red. I thought they were red. They was I thought they were red and really totally different from me. So April 17, 1975. That was the day, the Cambodian New Year. The entire country were curious and want to find out what's happening, because the war's kind of calmed down, and the radio is silent, and the TV was pretty much all silent. And the minute that morning, that morning, the arrival of the Khmer Rouge parade everywhere in the country. And I remember that day, I ran to my mother while she's preparing food for the Cambodian New Year. I said, "Mother, the war come to an end. The Khmer Rouge is here. They're very nice, they're smiling, they're cheering, and everyone is like," and my mother was so happy. My brothers and sister was running around and parading, cheering those Khmer Rouge, the arrival of the Khmer Rouge. And my father was busy at the hospitals. And I thought like everything back to normal at that time. And in that day, this group passed by. And at the time, I remember ran after the tank, and it was like, was so happy, and everything just feel like I don't have to escape bomb. I don't have to escape from any enemy or any soldier. They're here to save us. They're here to make peace. And that afternoon, everything was turned like a monster. And I was so confused. The next group came, orders the entire people living in that town, everywhere in the country, to pack as much as you can to leave their hometown for just only 3 days. Don't bring a lot of stuff. And that time, everyone on the street was so confused, and someone was yelling, someone was screaming, and I ran to my mother and told my mother that thing is not the same. It was so violent on the street. The Khmer Rouge ordered us to leave as quick as possible. And my mother was just at the normal, like cooking rice, preparing food for the New Year celebration. And suddenly my father came. I can look to my father's eyes, the fear that he had. And he just rushed us to grab anything that we could just to leave because he knew what's happening. The Khmer Rouge started to execute, kill everybody who refused to leave their home, who in the hospital. So every on the street, it's just chaos and confused and people starting to move along the street. And this is around this time of the year in Cambodia. The temperature is about 100 degrees or more. And this image is just like packed on the street. We have to leave our hometown to the countryside for just only a couple days. That was the Khmer Rouge. And the Khmer Rouge was on the tanks looking for any Cambodians who have long hair, who wear glasses, who wear uniform. They strip all those people so that they, some of them, they were just executed right. And I remember that afternoon. That was the first time as a 7 years old, I was holding my mother's hands and one of the Chinese family who refused to leave their hometown, their house. Suddenly, the Khmer Rouge took their gun and finished right in front. And I remember I hold tight to my mother, just keep walking, pretend that nothing happened. And everybody had to leave in 3 hours. And that day, we just walk. There's no destination where we're supposed to go. And when we end up in the jungle for a couple months, try our new life, learn how to plant, learn how to grow your own vegetable, potatoes, learn how to build your own huts, your own house. It's like we never had those kind of experience. So those 3 months, we thought that our life was worse. But that after 3 months, the Khmer Rouge will send us to another part of Cambodia where all the rice fields, that's where all the Khmer Rouge wants to, many thousand families, millions of Cambodian families to live in that part of the country so that they can do rice, planting rice and working water irrigation. So that's, and when we arrive in that village, it's called Tekcho. That means that the flooding village. And the only that day that we arrived at village, thousands of families, and that was, it was a monsoon season. Everywhere in that field, it's all a rice field, all water. It's just that you can see from the distance only the village. And when we arrived in that village, and this is the house that the Khmer Rouge put my family, which is about 7 of us. and order about 8 families. So total in that house, about close to 30. We slept on the top each other in that little house. And the Khmer Rouge was separated, everyone. I was the youngest one in that house, had to go to work 5, 6 o'clock in the morning until lunchtime and receive a bowl of rice, and then heading back to field again until evening. And my older brothers were all went to different camps, work camps, and some other, the parents have to work in a different group, and I was very much work in a different area with all those children around my age, and it was at the time it was so difficult because my parents doesn't look like coming from a poor family, and the Khmer Rouge will always keep an eye on my parents, keep an eye on my family all the times, because I look Chinese, and they didn't believe that. So my father always remind me that when the Khmer Rouge asks you, I'll tell them that our family is collecting cans for living, and we were not rich. We were not working for any government. So they were suspicious of our family all the time. And that night, when I heard a couple of the Khmer Rouge soldiers came in and took my father from that while he was sleeping next to me, that by window. And I knew that right away that the Khmer Rouge will not bring my father back. So at the time, I would cry, but my mother would try to hold me on, that do not, scream, do not cry. And the Khmer Rouge was just took him, said that he will return in a couple of days, but he never returned back. The Khmer Rouge would just kill him right behind the village. So at the time, when I got out to the fields, I was not allowed to show my emotional about my father's death. I was not allowed to complain. I was not allowed to, because the Khmer Rouge leaders who in charge in my group just keep an eye on us all the time, that we make sure that we have to work, constantly work on the rice field every minute. We're not allowed to talk to the other kids. I was not allowed to take any break, or say, oh, this is tired, or this is very hot sun, or rain, or we're not allowed to complain at all. All they had, and especially when you come home at nighttime, I had to attend a group of the children that they can educate us every night to make sure that the daytime we have to work hard, and make sure that you obey ONCA, that means the organization, and work hard and be a good citizen, and you're not allowed to complain anything about their regime. So their Khmer Rouge leader. So this is the kind of rice work that we have to work every day, almost 4 years. There's no Saturday, there's no Sunday. It's just 6 o'clock in the morning, head to the field, come back, head back, and sometimes when the moon is out, full moon, we have to go back to the field and work like this all day. And so I witnessed so many people just collapse, die of starvation, overwork, and some of them, the Khmer Rouge, was just watch out for every minute of the of people. And if you're working slow or you're looking tired, or you complain, if they heard it, you would be gone. They would take away from the field and never return. And in that house that I showed you earlier, one by one, people living in that house was dying of starvation, and some of them, the Khmer rulers took them, just like my father never returned. And at a year later, living in that house, I was the only person left. My mother was the last one to die, that I was very much with her most of the time. And when she was passed, when she died overwork, I had to carry her and bear it on my own hand. And that time I was about 9 years old at the time. And after that, when the Khmer Rouge saw me living in that house alone, they decided to send me to, it's called an orphanage mobile camp, right in the open field. You just had a blanket, and at the time I was not allowed to wear any white shirt or any color shirt, so I had to wear black and white. Every clothes that I have to dye it to the darker color. So the time I was in that village, I was trying to sneak out, stealing potato, fruit, any vegetable just to save my mother's life, but unfortunately she could not make. And I remember in that very night with my mother, she told me that when the country is back to normal, I need to go back to school to get education, because the Khmer Rouge will not take away when you have education. When you have a knowledge, the Khmer Rouge will not take away from you. So you must get education when the country is back to normal. And that, it kept in me very much until today. And at the time, I didn't even think about it. Just only the thing that I was looking for is food to eat, so that I can have the energy to get up to work in the rice field the next day. So when the Khmer Rouge saw me in that house alone, they took me to camp, and I thought the camp might be much better, but it was worse 100 times. There was about 100 of kids, orphan kids, and the Khmer Rouge was so strict with the rules that we have to work, we have to not complain, and every night, and the violence in that orphanage camp is just beyond you imagine. The torture for other kids who didn't work hard, the torture that the other kids was complaining about the food that they need. They asking for salt just to have it for lunch, for dinner. They just torture them because they said, oh, didn't Onka give you enough food to eat? And also some other kids who sneak out to steal food, steal rice from the field. When they caught it, it just, the level of the violence, the torture that I witnessed was happening in that camp. At the time, I was not fear. That is almost like a normal to me at the time. I said, well, I rather to get tortured by the Khmer Rouge as long as my stomach is full of food. And that made me to sneak at night time to find any crab, insects, frog, mice, anything that I could find from the field. And I eat it at night. And it was just amazing that I feel like my mother is right there next to me, helping me to get through all those years, even those that I got caught so many times by stealing rice, by stealing food from the field. I was tortured, I was beaten. At one time, the Khmer Rouge thought that I was dead. They beat me and tortured me, threw me in the canal, and some reason I feel like someone came to rescue me, said, he's saying, you need to get up and go back to your orphanage camp. And suddenly I woke up, blood, everything all over me. And I was afraid at the time to go to my orphanage because I didn't want all my group leader to see me all in blood and swollen face. So I went to the river, tried to wash myself, and head back to the orphanage, orphanage camp, and pretend that nothing happened to me, and pretend that I was there at the field working. And this is the image of line up to get a portion of rice. If you did not work for that day, you would not get any portion of food. And every kid in the orphanage have to, this is more like a life save for me to make sure that I have a bowl with me all the time. That's how I receive a food of rice. And sometimes the Khmer Rouge had nothing for us to eat. So they say that Onka, especially in the winter, in the monsoon season, that's where the rice is starting to grow. And that is the season that many of the people were starved to death. Many kids who are starved next to me was die almost every day. So I was able to survive, to sneak out, to fill up my stomach, and also I'd be able to try to feed the other kids next to me so that they would not report to the Khmer Rouge leader that I stole food. So that I had to give the food to him so that he would not keep his mouth not to tell the other kids. And that one of those morning, I woke up, he was gone. And I remember that I had to pick him up, and especially in the monsoon season, everywhere. The only place that I would be able to sleep is only in the dry area, and the rest of the area is very much rice field and water. So I picked him up and just threw him in the canal, and that's how I buried him at that time. And I remember that some other kids who was being brainwashed by the Khmer Rouge, they were trying to beat the other kids, beat the others, try to take their relative life so that they become the leader of the Khmer Rouge. And one of those persons, later on, he caught me stealing rice. And I thought that my life very much ended right there. But I was managed to survive, to live, to be able to get away from that. And all those 4 years, it was so suffering. And when I saw that happen to the other kid being brainwashed and up killing, take other people's life, I said to myself, it doesn't matter how the Khmer Rouge give me food or ask me to become the leader. I would not. I'd rather to take my own life instead of take somebody else's life, because that's what my family taught me, what is right, what is wrong, when I was in a younger age. So that was in me all the time, but I was try to pretend nothing happening. And every time that they were educating me at nighttime, I always say that I will work as hard as possible for the UNCA. So that at the time, I was really, really lonely and sad, and I was not, even the kids who are slept next to me, I was not allowed, I was not afraid to complain or to talk about my past, my parents. I was not allowed to do that. Just receive a bowl of rice, coming back, go to sleep. At nighttime, we have to go to work. When they blow the whistle, we have to go to work. We have to go to work. And in the morning, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, when they blow the whistle, we have to be in the field. And we're not allowed to say, oh, this is the rainy day, or this is holiday. We're not allowed to say that or to complain that. Otherwise, you will be tortured. Otherwise, you will being killed. So you could imagine, and that house that I was there at that village, about 30 of us, I was the only one left in that house. And imagine the Cambodians who went through during that time. 1 out of 3 of Cambodians were killed at that time, either killed, die of starvation, and tortures, and it's just everywhere in the country at the time, pile of skulls, pile of death. Yeah, it's just. I remember that in around December, around the dry season in 1979, when the Vietnamese tried to come to invade Cambodia. I remember that very night, big meeting with all the Khmer Rouge leaders came, all the group leaders came to our orphanage. And I remember that there was big irrigation that we had to work with, was unfinished. And they brought all the kids to sit next to that. And that time, I was so young, and I should not even ask that question. I was asked them that we have water, so many water in the field already. Why we need to make this big irrigation? Because the water. And at the time, he said to me that you are going to be all in there. So that means that the Khmer Rouge will kill all the orphans, everybody, put it in there when the Vietnamese arrive. And I was keep myself alert at the time. And at the time, I was about 12 years old. 11 years old. And the minute I heard the gun, the gunshot, the rockets, and the tank roll on the highway, I was so happy. I said, I did not even care whoever's come, any others soldiers come. I just want to get out of this Khmer Rouge era. So the Khmer Rouge was a rush, took their family, took some of the kids to the jungle. And I knew at the time that I would not follow them. I would not go along with them. So I was hiding. I was hiding in that orphanage in the open field. And when the Khmer Rouge was quiet, left the village, I ran to that village, the place that my parents were, the house that I was lived in the village, that my parents was all die in that, so that I was be able to stay in that place for a couple of days. And I was able to try to find food anything that left, the Khmer Rouge left. So that, and at the time, I was found a bucket of rice. And I remember I was so hungry at the time, and I ate the rice, and it was very much almost got killed. So I decided to leave the country. I decided to walk to the capital city, and this is how the capital city, 1979, and that when I got there, I had no one to depend on, and I thought I was be able to reunite it with my family, with my brother who went to study in France, and I was roaming around, living on the street, and suddenly, here we go. My brother who went to study in France came back, and the Khmer Rouge was execute him, and they took his picture before they execute him. And at the time, I feel so empty that I was hoped to reunite it with him and to be able to come to live with him in France, that now I have nothing left. All my family's gone. So that I decided to hop on the train. Took me a couple of days sitting on the top of the roof of the train to Battambang Wong, to the next to the Thailand border, and that's how I escaped it at night to the refugee camp. And this is the refugee camp. It was in 1982 that when I was there for 10 months, and when I met a Time magazine writer, and a month, 2 months later, I was adopted by an American family in Amherst, Massachusetts. And it feel like this is the photograph that they took my picture before I got on the plane, a couple days before I got on the plane to America. And it felt like I was born again when I arrived to America. And especially when I was on the plane, first time they put me on a big plane, and it was so shock for me and was so scared that I never used a bathroom on the plane. And the first time that I used it, and I feel like when I flushed the toilet, and the noise, and I thought that I fell into the ocean without no one know that I'm gonna be gone. So it was so scary, and when I arrived with my to Hartford, Connecticut, and introduced with American family. And here is my adopted family in Amherst, Massachusetts. And I was be able to, I'm fortunate to have, lucky to have this family who helped me through my new life here, and it took me some time to adjust, living with my American family, the school, the environment, and the language and everything. So, but I knew that I am here with them in a safe place, and I feel like my mother have handed me, my real mother have handed me to this new family, so that I will be able to have enough food every day and be able to go to school. So that's why I be able to work really hard to get into finish high school and go into UMass Amherst. Okay, and I'm gonna end right here. I know that some of you might have some questions. Yeah, but I hope that one of these days you'll be able to read my memoir in detail. That's how I, describe what I went through in details about what I gone through. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have time for 2 questions. Yes.
Yes.
What was city life like in Cambodia after the Khmer Rouge took over?
What is what? I'm sorry.
City life.
Oh, today, yeah.
No, during the Khmer Rouge.
Oh, during the Khmer Rouge, the city is like a ghost town. It's no one's there. It's only the soldiers. Only they keep was the Tuol Sleng, which is where my brother that I just showed earlier. That was the high school. They turned it into the torture, and that all the Cambodian intellectual, all the foreigners, all whoever they just executed and put it in there and tortures and yeah. And at the time, it's like a ghost town.
Okay, one more question.
Sure.
Oh, so where can you get the book?
You can get the books if you go to my website, sainty.com, and then you can, it's on Amazon, amazon.com. Yeah.
And, I'll add something.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna add that I'm gonna buy some copies for the library, so you'll be able to check them out, hopefully soon. Okay? Thank you so much. Wish we had more time. Thank you, Sang T. Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski and Mr. Curry.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.